So, you want to talk about toys, do we? Well, obviously, this is definitely the type of show that we obviously going to be talking about toys, and it's definitely the most oblivious subject that I actually have on this YouTube channel, considering that I wanted to branch out to other things, but toys were basically my comfort food to the point that I actually embraced it on this YouTube channel. But hey, speaking of which, you could just rename this to a drunk Asian man talking about toys and raging against why the other competition sucks, and so on and so on. And I can bag about all day about Bandai America, Bandai Japan, Takara Tomy doing all this inconspicuous crap that nobody really gives too much hoots about. But that's the fun and the enjoyment of the show that Megabits has been pretty much indulging itself into for the last few months or so. Considering that I have pretty much been an observer of the toy news and recent announcements that have been coming out, you got Power Month, which is basically just a marketing ploy just to announce new stuff from Hasbro, which honestly, a lot of the stuff that I've seen is pretty good for what it is. The Denjitiger stuff was pretty much a surprise of Figure 100. Thank God that was Figure 100, because I was expecting pretty much anything else aside from Denjitiger, because everyone wanted the Denjitiger figures for quite a long time, since 1995, and many modern renditions have not surfaced in the market. Not even fan efforts as far as that's concerned, and that is a stretch when it comes to how far we wanted these things. Either way, you could settle for vintage, but no one really wants to go that far in terms of modern collecting. However, in terms of modern collecting, Sentai has been pretty much left in the dust for a very long time, since 2017 or so. That was the last very big release in terms of Sentai Mecha. With the roleplay stuff, you got the Memorial Edition replacing the Artisan stuff. That has exactly been a very continuous progress of trying to attached to the more adult collector market that they've been trying to do for several years, but they never seem to manage to have stability with it, because they're constantly trying to shift the vision of what they wanted to do. Was it supposed to be reissue of old toys? Was it supposed to be new versions of modern toys that are pretty much suited towards an adult market or whatnot? It's tempting to be much more like the CSM, but not exactly. That's was one of the very few problems that Sentai had, because a lot of the toys were mostly one-to-one with each other in terms of the changer items, but the weapons are obviously less downscaled because obviously safety reasons, and children aren't that big. So we all know that the Memorial Edition that I have literally right in front of me is a very expensive piece, but it sold very well because it was pretty much long and it was almost one-to-one scale. It had the same problems as the CSM Blade Rouser had, which in terms of the scale is very questionable, because nobody actually has the show prop keeping in mind nobody has the show's prop anyway. But it's still a good toy nevertheless. It's a very well respected collectible. You also got Tamashii Lab, which also is kind of riveting to more towards sophisticated subjects, like you had last time we had the Revolcane, and then you have the ring from Garo with the magic ring. I can't remember its name, and I did watch Garo not too long ago. God damn it. That was very long ago, and I actually forgot, aside from the main characters, who else is pretty much the ring was, but that's besides the point. Now, this recent announcement comes as not as much of a surprise, but it does come from Evolution Toy. And Evolution Toy, as far as anything is concerned in the Power Rangers fandom, nobody really knows who they are. But if you've been in the robot collecting hemisphere for quite some time, you definitely know that Evolution Toy has definitely been doing a lot of homers, and just sometimes they've been not been hitting the home runs not too many times. Most examples come from the Dynamite Action Lazarion, and sometimes the God Mars is I wouldn't say if it's didn't miss the mark, but definitely was not the best in terms of the what other options there are, including the SOC God Mars. Besides that, everyone knows it for the Dynamite Action, which is a magnet system, Magnemo, specifically toys that have utilize the Magnemo joints. It's very creative, it's very modern. for what it is, especially when you can interact it with very other toys. It's much like Zord Builder in the sense, but using magnets, which is exactly very affordable to the very old magnet toy days in the 70s, where Takara was making a lot of Magnemo toys then. They capitalized that with Kosetsu Jig, but they didn't do it with anything else like Baratak, Gakin, or Gordon Goldwapper 5. Those were the very few examples that used Magnemo, and they were solely built on the purposes of using magnets as its gimmick. But Evolution Toy, for the past few months, has actually been trying to captivate on more obscure licenses, and most of the licenses you see from their product rollout have obviously been obscure. Like, nobody really knows Lazarion aside from some good icon collectors and Chocokin collectors from the past few years, or even Albegas, unless you've been following the footsteps or story of surrounding the cancellation of Albegas, since Vehicle Voltron and Lion Voltron have pretty much been overshadowing Albegas, and Albegas never really made it air anyway, so it's pretty much free real estate for Evolution Toy to grab a lot of licenses from Toei to captivate on making modern toys for such products. Then they went to Subaraya, and then they went obviously back to Toei to collect a lot of obscure licenses that have not been used for several years. I mean, think about it, there was a new modern Metalda toy since the Action Works toy has been released since around 2009 or so. And that is a huge decade gap between when that was released and when the new Hero Action figure was released, even though it's not into scale with a lot of the modern action figures in the 1/12 scale. It's in its own scale of about 1/10 or 1/6. I can't remember what scale it was specifically. It was about 7 inches in imperial metrics or whatever it is. Besides that, Evolution Toys has pretty much been trying to hit things out of the ballpark in terms of adult collectibles for the Sentai fandom. And I know this because Tamashii Nations hasn't been doing anything since 2014 or 16 or so. After their Sun Vulcan releases, it's slowly died off. The Shokugan Candy Toy faction of Bandai has pretty much been doing their own thing, and that's pretty much been offset, and it's not really continuously a part of the Tamashii Nations slack or whatnot, because it's just partially just model kits and candy toys, so they kind of really become their own sort of faction of collecting. It's not really like modern toys that have like die casts, full-on articulation, even though they're trying to bridge the gap and merge them together as like one seamless option where you can just get the candy toys and it feels like a premium modern toy. That's what they're trying to push to the consumer nowadays. Full-on modern toys in terms of that regard have pretty much been non-existent since the Daidenjin, and definitely have not been existent since a lot of the Memorial Edition stuff has been coming out. Again, the Memorial Edition stuff is pretty much its own thing. It's because it's kind of really segregated to many factions of Bandai. Tamashii Nations, hobby department, and you also got like candies department, and then there's just like the regular toys department. That's already like 4 factions, and if you're already lost on that, I don't blame you, because considering that there is a lot going around with Bandai, and it starts to get confusing once you understand what those factions really provide. They're not really having the same people on the same team, even though they have the same licenses and they have the same royalties in terms of like what they can use and what they can't use, except for the fact that Toei has pretty much given Evolution Toy all the provisions to make whatever the fuck they want, which is exactly what they're making, the Daidenjin and the Denjitiger. And this was surprising to the fact that we have not seen a mecha of the modern era since Daizujin made its release in 2017. And we exclude the model kits out of the question, obviously. Let's repeat that one more time. We're removing the model kits in question because they're exactly their own thing. Obviously, we have the designs by Tsuyoshi Nonaka working on the model kits, and that's good and all, but it's definitely not in the realm of pre-made modern toys. It's like its own thing. And I have to reiterate that one more time just to be sure if people were getting lost. We have pre-made modern toys since 2017 in terms of the mecha, Daidenjin was the last. And in 2006, there was the Battle Fever Robo for the GX30 for the Soul Chogokin line. And after GX30, most people weren't even sure what was going on. We were obviously going to expect a Go line at some point, and we were obviously going to expect a Dairaga. Those were the heavy contenders of potential releases, but we didn't expect a Daidenjin to come out of this. Now, even though that there were a lot of toys in the SOC Soul Chogokin line that haven't been made, their modern Chogokin counterparts have not been parallel to their vintage ones. Obviously, some of the vintage ones were mostly plastic or did not exist, which is fair enough because Tamashii Nations can do their own thing, and I don't blame them for that. And now we have to the point where Tamashii Nations does not give a hoot about the modern Sentai fandom, but that's obviously because a lot of the toys haven't been selling well, and there are other factors that pretty much were intervened by Bandai of America and some fractions of Plex America pretty much being involved with the design process and whatnot. That's all being done and said, but we obviously do not know what the true conditions are in terms of whether that's the sales figures haven't been doing very good, is that nobody's been buying the product, or is that the product distribution has been jacked and that's pretty much artificially creating this scarcity and whatnot. Obviously those are the same theories you could apply to any other toy company like Hasbro, for example. We are not exactly too sure what pretty much led them to the cancellation of a lot of the merchandising options in terms of adult products, although character products in terms of character merchandising has been being continuously popular among the masses, and that's where pretty much where the market is in terms of Sentai, is a lot of character merchandising. Now obviously we don't know what the quality is going to be good or not, considering that most people don't know Evolution's toys quality. I obviously only been observing a lot of Evolution toy stuff since Collection DX has been reviewing these samples, and seeing that they're pretentious and pretty much almost as expensive as they could be. They are pretty much the most fun toys I could have had, but obviously they're going to be unaffordable because of the high price range for a lot of this stuff. The Go Ranger stuff is really expensive, costing up to about $120 for one figure. Sometimes it goes around $300 for a dynamic action set, and it depends on which character it is. They also made many characters from the dynamic action series, from Go Nagai and Ken Ishihara's pen series. Like you got Grendizer, Great Mazinger, Raideen's a Sunrise production, sorry. That is the name of the Fuse, and also Get a Robo, which have been the few licenses that they've been actually able to branch out to several other toy companies aside from Bandai. Obviously, Bandai does not have the exclusive license for Mazinger Z, even though they are pretty much the founding fathers of Mazinger merchandise. So, that being said, it is a very pretentious toy. It is also expensive as well. The Denjitiger is included with the Daidenjin. You can't get it separately, unfortunately, which is quite sad, because I would like to have the Daidenjin itself, but I don't know if I have the room for the Denjitiger. And that becomes a problem when it's like, even though several years ago, back in 1980, you could get the Daidenjin and the Denjitiger by itself, or you could get it in a 2-pack, but they forced you to get these two together as a standalone product at around almost $600-$700. And wow, $700, and I'm not sure if I'm willing to shell out that much, because considering that you may shell out that same price for a limited production run of GX71 Go lines or something like that, because there was a time where you could pre-order them this year, and they were doing another third production run of those. I did put my pre-order for that GX71, but considering I did that, it makes me questionable if I would ever put down a pre-order for the Daidenjin and the Denjitiger from Evolution Toy. That being said, we may never know, but if I'd ever pre-order this, it most likely I'll be bragging about it on the internet.